everyone. Welcome to AbilityTalks with Elizabeth Patterson. On this episode, we're going to discuss motherhood and disability. My guest today is Mary Amoah, who is the founder of Clicks Africa Foundation. And we will talk to her about her journey with autism and all the things that she's experienced being an advocate for inclusion here in Ghana and globally. So Mary, welcome.
Thank you. So nice to see you.
So good to see you. So whenever I hear that there's a connection between, I know that there's a connection between you and I, it takes me back to the days in grad school and how I got to meet you. So how did that happen? I had just returned from South Africa doing research on how kids in South Africa could be included in the education system and where the pipeline was for them to access higher education. I focused mainly on girls. My experience took me to the Renodsway Special School in South Africa, where a lot of my qualitative and quantitative research took place. And then thankfully, I think a few days after returning back to New York, one of my classmates sent me a flyer or forwarded an email to me that there was a woman who was coming to campus to give a talk on the same thing that I was researching. And the woman just happened to be Mary Amoah. And I attended her talk, and I feel like instantly Mary and I became family. And our journey has grown over the years for about 11 years now. So Mary, talk to me a little bit about your journey becoming a parent and then realizing that your only daughter or your last born happens to be a girl with autism. Talk to me about that whole experience.
Thank you very much. And once again, thank you for the opportunity.
You're so welcome.
Yes, I think this is long overdue. Yes, so, Elizabeth, we get pregnant, you go through pregnancy, you give birth, and the child, they learn to sit, crawl, walk, talk, you enroll them in school, and they start natural progression. It doesn't always happen, So I have two boys who are neurotypical. There's no problem with them, and then God bless me with a girl.
Okay. Can you please pause and explain what neurotypical is for people who might not know what that is?
Okay, so children who do not have any challenge in a list.
Like normal.
Yes, in quotes. Yeah, so they don't have any challenge at all. And then I have this one who is struggling to talk, who is struggling to even understand what is being said to her, who is struggling to follow basic, simple instruction, who is having it difficult to even grasp academics. So, Nanaya, we notice the signs around between 2 to 3.
2 to 3 months or 2 to 3 years?
3 years.
Okay.
So
her development was normal and everything was on track up until 2 years?
Honestly speaking, I never saw this coming.
Okay.
Because, I remember very well, we speak a lot of Chi at home. So when she was around 18 months, she could say bye-bye, she could say mama. Even at 2 years, I remember very well. So when she wants water, she would say, Menu Monsieur. Menu Monsieur is in Chi, I want water. And then, just before she turned 3, I noticed the few words she had, she stopped using them. And then she became very hyperactive. She will not sleep at night. She will run in circles. And, there was this queer behavior about her that wasn't true. Right. But I wasn't worried. I thought, maybe she would grow out of it. Then at 4, she was enrolled at school kindergarten. And my next door, whose children was also in the same school, would pick my daughter up. And I noticed that his 3-year-old could talk, could request, and make, simple basic sentences. Another thing I saw was that boy was extremely calm, following basic simple instruction. And even sitting in the car was all over the place, something was amiss. So that was my first concern. So at 4, we went to hospital. They said, I'm just a worried mother. So she's going to be fine. I should just enroll her in mainstream. I said, she's already in mainstream school. Then at 4, my neighbor's child was potty trained, still could hold a basic conversation. And my daughter could hardly even use one word or one keyword to,
to express herself.
Exactly. Yeah. So those were signs that didn't sit well with me. Again, doctor said I was only a worried mom. Then at 5, she was not potty trained. If you have to clean the poo of a 2-3-year-old, I mean, it's okay.
Fine,
not a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And almost everybody, at 5 in that particular class, they were all potty trained. They know their school bags. They could talk to their teachers.
Yeah.
And so I started getting the complaints from school.
So when you say she wasn't potty trained, are you talking about?
So she is on herself, even at 5.
So for me, I'm also a mom of 2. When I got pregnant, I think the whole world was thinking that, what is this? How did this happen? Somebody even asked me if I got like a donor, and that's only because like it blows people's minds that somebody with a disability could have, excuse my language, but could have sex naturally. They don't and conceive and like deliver. Both of my kids, I delivered them naturally. My son in 15 minutes, my daughter in 8 minutes. So it's just like the potty training. I did all the research. I did all the reading. Is it that you and Mr. Kofor didn't potty train her, or it just wasn't coming naturally?
It just wasn't coming naturally. Okay. We did all that we had to do. Even potty training, yes, we do put in a bit of effort, but children can also pick this naturally. For my 2 boys, at 3, of course there were a few accidents, but at least they will point to let you know that we want to, use the loo. But I was not. Even when you put her on the seat, she will not sit.
She wouldn't go.
And this was around 5. And then between 5 and 6, if she wants to poo, she doesn't mind doing it at your kitchen.
Wow.
That was profound for me as And so I went to a Catholic school. And we had Peace Corps volunteers at the time. I don't think we do have them anymore.
I mean, GIG had some Peace Corps volunteers a couple of years ago, but
excellent. Now
because of 1 or 2 reasons.
So this was a Catholic school, and when they come, we are being assigned to help them, to familiarize themselves around. So one of them became a very close friend, and when she even left after her volunteering period, she used to come back to visit. She was the one that visited us when Yah was almost at 6, and then just about 15 minutes of being with us in the house, she asked, "Is your daughter on the autism spectrum?"
Wow.
Elizabeth.
And to you, what's the autism spectrum? I just want us to pause for a little bit because you mentioned you have 2 sons, right? And your first boy, Ima. Is it Ima or Charles? Charles went to school at 16 years old. He went to medical school at 16. And Ima is a graduate from, I think, Legon.
Yes.
Right? So how were you received after having these brilliant children, and all of a sudden you have a girl or a daughter who we're asking if she's on the autism spectrum? Like socially, how did you deal with that?
It's something nobody is ever prepared for, and it's so difficult to accept, And let me be frank, I knew something was amiss, even at 3-4, but you don't accept it. I mean, there's nobody in my family with this issue. So, I mean, where from this?
Yeah, where did it come from?
So, and my boys were, like you said, Charles at 16 entered university. At 21, 6 years period. He came back at 21 as a doctor. He's doing brilliantly well. Emmanuel went to, university. He's graduated from Tech, and he's doing extremely well. Then this, this one who is even at 22 cannot even write A to C.
Wow.
And so when she mentioned, and this was around 6 years, I asked, "What is autism?" And I was a teacher at the time with GS.
And you didn't know.
a teacher that believed in herself so much. She said, "Me too no."
Yeah, too no.
and not to have even heard of this. So then I asked her. During that time, there wasn't WhatsApp, so we could just. So she said, "Okay, we should go to a cafe." That was the order of the day. You go to a cafe, get
do the research, and buy data at one point. And
we
do the research.
We bought data at the time, and then she just Googled autism, and there was so much information. She printed them out and gave it to me. I started reading about autism research. I became so interested. But the more I read about it, some of the signs were very evident with my daughter. There were others that, she wasn't doing those things. So it was so difficult. And that's why we say autism is a spectrum. It affects children differently. And for those of you listening to us and not knowing what autism is, it's a neurodevelopmental disorder that affects children in mainly 3 areas: communication, social interaction, and the ability to make meaning of the world around us. So, when you go to a place, you expect to greet and say hello, exchange pleasantries. I can walk in here and just walk past you as if you don't exist. It's so difficult for her to understand some of these, things and etiquette.
Okay, you finish. Yeah.
So that is, so to cut long story short, we became aware that something was not right. So immediately then we went to hospital. It's not like now that we have neuropediatricians and, that time we didn't have.
I think back in when I relocated to Ghana, or when I moved back, whatever that means, in 2014, 2015, you and I, you were a founding board member of GIG.
Yes.
We went to one of the offices to try to get some of our students diagnosed with learning disabilities. And I think it was like one speech pathologist.
At the time.
Yeah.
And even for so many years, to a population of 33 million, we had only 3 of them. Only 3.
They were probably all based
Thankfully, for the past 5 years, things have changed a little bit. So it was even difficult getting diagnosis. So we kept going to it. But I was also in denial. I was in so much denial until about 7 and 8. And still, she was not potty trained.
Wow.
Then at 9 years, she started menstruating.
At
a time when she was not potty trained.
Wow.
That was a big hit.
Wow.
That I was not going to accept it. And no matter how much I was in denial, there was a point that I needed to say, hey, something needs to be done.
We need to address this.
And between now and then, the story, we've come a long way. We've come a long way. One thing I can say for sure, nobody has the right to decide ahead of time what a child can be or cannot. Okay. Of course, we will manage our expectation, but create the opportunities, for that child to excel.
Definitely.
I remember what your mom told me. You remember the first time you met?
So
I always had yes.
I just wanted to go back a little bit. You said autism is a spectrum, and most people don't know what that means. It's like somebody who's like very low, lack of communication, like social behaviors are off. And then on the other spectrum is like Asperger's, where they're really, really brilliant. I believe Elon Musk, I'm sure all of us know who Elon Musk is has Asperger's. He's on the autism spectrum, and we all praise him for his brilliance, all these things. But just so you can appreciate the full spectrum. And for me, I always say disability is also a spectrum. Like, you could be a completely normal person, or you could be somebody with some kind of special need, whatever that is. So please continue.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's
when we first met.
So it's been a long journey. And I remember one of the things I learned from your mom. Thank you, Auntie, if you are listening to us. Yes.
So
we are so much used to the norms and the regular way of doing things. When you are faced with any form of disability, Elizabeth, you know better than I do, you have to unlearn a lot of the things you know and believe, your belief systems and everything. And then you need to embrace this new.
The new normal.
Exactly.
To quote Lucy Quiz, who wrote the foreword to my book. So you have to like redefine what the new normal is and adjust and embrace it.
And trust me, I've had the opportunity of sitting in front of doctors and you can see that they don't believe in your child. You know, it's like everything you are saying, it's far from happening.
Of course, yeah.
Yes, so one of the things I needed to do was to work on myself. In fact, at a point I noticed that I even disabled my daughter more than you know, the things that she could not do. Because in my mind, there's this block, like, this is a no for you. I will not even create the opportunity. So until I believe to, you know, work on myself. And that, I learned that from Auntie. I learned that from Auntie. And I remember at one point, I think you were kind of, don't say these things about your child. Don't say these things about it.
So anyone who knows me closely the way Mary does, and she's lived with me and my family for, I think, months at end. I am very stubborn. I'm very stubborn.
Good stubborn.
So, yeah, in a good way. So for me, like, accepting that I was born a normal person, and then on April 4th, 2003, the accident happened, and everything else, like, I have to become this new person and absorb this new identity is a struggle for me to really live in the world where people just see me by my limitations. So when you were in the house, I'm sure maybe I was going back and forth with my mom, Auntie is my mom, about maybe something she wanted me to do because she didn't see that I could do it in my full ability. And then I would probably correct her, or she
so I would say, you know, Nanaya can't do this. And say, no, don't say that. Maybe for now, she may not be able to do it. But you can't say that and believe that for the rest of her life. You know, and in fact, at the point I was even getting angry with you, like,
really?
She's my child, I know she can. And Elizabeth says no. But let me tell you, those 2 months I stayed with you and Auntie really changed me.
It's a mindset
Trust
shift,
me,
like,
looking at it now, I see it as maybe God ordained, you know, because I remember the first fundraiser we had at NYU.
Yeah.
And then you said I could come with Nanaya. And I was like, you know,
I think two days ago, Facebook reminded me of how long we've been friends. And the image that came was a picture of Nanaya giving me a peg on the cheek.
You see?
And I sent it to you. Like,
and I told you Nanaya cannot be in the crowd. You said, no, we have to go. And you know, we went for a program before the fundraiser. There was this big program.
We went for a conference,
and there were so many bright lights there. And actually sat, you know, with Auntie. And so when we came back, I was kind of ashamed, but I don't want to accept and admit that, you know, you had won. So, but I mean, that was change for me. That actually changed everything. So when the second day we had to go for the fundraiser, and then you suggested we go with
you. Should come along,
I just said, and Elizabeth, that has been the 2 instances that gave me that opportunity to believe that even though they say, you know, some children do not like crowd, they don't like light, just create the opportunity. Give the support, don't overwhelm the child. But trust me, what a child cannot learn today, even though they may have a disability, they can learn it tomorrow.
Of course.
And for that, I am truly grateful. And between that time to now, I think if you ask me what has been the greatest blessing, is working on myself.
I mean, it's an evolution. I would say it's a real evolution.
Trust me, these days I look at
a person with a disability or a parent with a child with disabilities, it's an evolution. You go through that. I think the norming stage where you have to accept, and then you do the work, and then right now I see Nanaya working on runways, and a lot of times when I see her videos of her on the runway or doing photo shoots, I feel like it's not the same 14-year-old that we met.
It's true. And she's come a long way. I just pray that parents who have newly diagnosed children along their way, even though we don't have counseling services and all that, they will meet people like maybe Auntie and yourself, you know, to for that mindset. It's truly important. I mean, you can have the money, you'll be able to afford therapy and all that. Elizabeth, if you don't change your own mindset, nothing much will happen for a child.
For me, I feel like representation matters. For a very long time, when I moved back to Ghana in I finished grad school 2014, and moved back to Ghana that same month, May or June. And then from 2015 going, I was very active, like trying to get the organization up and started. And
you've really worked. You know?
It's a lot of work. People on the outside would think, oh, maybe it's like favors, she knows somebody, blah, blah, blah. But I remember taking flights from Kumasi to Accra just for TV interviews and things. But it's a lot of work. The point of what I'm trying to say is like, a lot of times when I would go for these public events, the first question, or they would say, oh, Farida, how are you? And Farida Bejwe is a good friend. And she's a completely different person. Like, I admire her intelligence, but I can't count the many times that I've had to say, I am Elizabeth, not Farida. People feel like we're all the same, right? So representation matters. And I really am proud of the fact that Nanaya and you have come to be someone or people who can advocate and be the face of autism here in Ghana and globally. Yeah.
So it's been a journey. We've come a long way. I think as a family, we've all had a mind shift, including my husband.
Yes, so I was going to ask a little bit about that because I know.
Including Ben has come a long way. Right now, I look at him, I'm like, is that really my husband? Is that really the same person? And you know, also, Elizabeth, there's a lot of social stigma.
Definitely.
Oh,
definitely.
And you face it more at church, where you think you'll be accepted.
Mary, you have no idea. There's a section in the book. I remember 2014, 2015 when I relocated to Ghana, and my mom and I went to church. And at that time, I was wearing a foot brace. Somebody pulled her aside. I think one of the church elders pulled her aside and asked her, why did you allow her to come? Why did you allow her to come to church? Like,
and the person's ashamed
yes,
for you.
I mean, like, I think they were embarrassed that I am there. Like, I'm there thinking, oh, social activity. I'm going to church. I grew up in the church. And my mom just wanted us to be in that same space again. And you're pulling her away, asking her why I'm there with my brace on.
You see, so it's like, huge.
Yeah, church schools are supposed to be like environments where we're embraced and included. But
I enrolled Nanaya initially at a mainstream school. At the point we saw that it wasn't working. And I was trying to do a lot of awareness. And one of the TV stations that given us an opportunity to, you know, bring Nanaya's story to educate. I had informed the school head. They all said, okay. The day of the interview, when the crew members and everybody was ready at the school, they told me we cannot come in. In other words, they turned down.
They turned it down, yeah.
I only got to know later that the school head was advised that if we come out publicly to let people know that they've accepted a child with autism, other parents will withdraw.
Of course.
We took Nanaya from that school. The second one we tried to. The school head called me and said, the very month we enrolled Nanaya, you know, she had behavior issues and, you know, she was very hyperactive. 15 children left the school.
Wow.
Because we sent Nanaya.
Wow.
Now, the other one that made me even stop, you know, like, I've had enough. We are now starting homeschooling. Well, school had reopened. And this was a person I was in the same church with. And I called and said, no, they were doing renovation at the school, so they had not reported. I said, fine. And this was like 3 weeks into reopening. I went to market only to see the school car.
Wow.
So I went to the driver and I'm like, what are you doing here? So we are in school. I said, you are in school when? So we reopened when everybody else
opened.
That was when I knew that, you know,
they
being in the same church,
daughter,
I think she didn't know how to tell me that I can't bring my child and that.
Wow.
That is how much stigma. We face it at banks, we face it at,
everywhere.
Yes, and I think until parents begin to really, you know, like get to understand it and not be ashamed of it, it will be like a stumbling block between you and your child.
Of course, definitely.
Because even now that we've made so much progress, we still have
we have a long way to go.
Last Sunday we went to church, and we've always gone to church on time. This particular day we were late. And for Praise Church, when you go and the pastor is praying and that, they don't allow you to go until he's done with the prayers. Then so they put this thing like a bar at the entrance, so you can't go in. Nanaya has been going to church. When we get to the entrance, she walks in and takes a seat. Why is this particular time there's a bar
and she didn't understand?
Oh, then she started a thing. She just went into complete meltdown. Why she had to wait? Because whenever we get here, in her mind, we get to the entrance, we go in. She's very, very meticulous in the way we do things.
Right.
And I'm asking her to. She nearly beat.
So as we're beginning to wrap up, I'm just thinking, Nanaya has grown. I met her when she was 14. Now she's 22, 23, right?
I'm sure she wants to have a boyfriend.
I am sure she does. So looking at the future of your daughter, what do you see for her relationship-wise? Because I will share this, and I've been talking about this at home quite a bit. There's some on the internet, if everybody Googles it, you'll see that there's like it's like a fetish that people have of having sex with people with disabilities. And I don't know whether it's like to cure them or just fantasy, but
actually somebody has told me before.
There's a whole thing on the internet which blows my mind.
Let somebody break a virginity.
It makes me like very reserved. If somebody approaches me like, what is this? What are you in it for? Is it to like achieve something you want to do? But seeing as how some people is like their fantasy, and then other people it's like, oh my God,
not a good fantasy.
If I go near them, will I catch the disease? That kind of thing. What do you think for Nanaya's future? What are your hopes for her?
So she has a lot of sensory issues, and I'm being honest here. So things like touch, even as a mother, I bath every morning and do everything, even though she's learning. It's a big issue for her. So I don't know how she's going to have sex if you don't want people to be touched.
Oh, that's not for you to decide. That's not for you to decide.
Yes. I want to honestly say that there are certain things when you get there, you cross. In the moment, you may not have the answers. But I think that the future is bright. I have thought about IVF. That is, if she cannot conceive by the natural. I've thought about IVF. I've thought about surrogacy.
Wow.
Actually, I'm saving towards.
Wow.
If we get there, then trust me, I'm a crazy mother. I have found a doctor that is so good.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
However, things like this, there's an ethical.
You'll probably not do it in Ghana. You'll probably go outside of Ghana.
Yeah, like I said, when we get there, we'll cross.
We'll cross that.
But I see Nanaya having a child at 25 or 26.
Wow. I don't know how to respond to that. But that's in like very soon.
Say amen.
Yeah, amen.
But the future is bright. In fact, if I remember where we were and where we are now, it gives me so much. Let me share a few stories and then we end. She's working at Kempinski now.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful to the hotel for giving her the opportunity. We've done training for all the staff so they can understand her. They've made reasonable accommodation. So she works only 4 hours in a day, twice a week with an hour break.
Wow.
Yes. Yet she's paid like anybody else.
Wow.
Number 2.
That's profound.
Yes. Number 2, everybody at her department understands her communication needs, her social needs, and all that. And people are so understanding just because they experience it and then, they know that, it's not contagious. Her immediate supervisor was pregnant, heavily pregnant when she started working. And then she gave birth. I could tell that Nanaya misses her so much.
Definitely.
The future is bright for Nanaya. And I'll be here on the same broadcast in the next 5 years to share another success story.
Amen.
Thank you.
So I believe there's ability and disability. And I used to say we're all differently abled. But as you just shared Nanaya's journey with us and your journey as a mother parenting a child with special needs or with autism, let's name it, with autism, not all of us are the same. So a child with autism, on behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you so much for your relentless support, for your advocacy. A lot of times I'm like, does Mary sleep? Like, I know I am always on, but does Mary sleep? So I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for all that you've done on behalf of Nanaya and other kids with special needs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is a dream come true to sit here and talk to you. But for me, not just talking, it's a therapy for me too.
I'm sure. I'm very sure you're laughing a lot. We're both laughing.
So thank you so much. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the other invites again.
Definitely.
Thank you.